understanding what is the art of owning. And here I don't mean owning property. Here we are meaning what is the ownership with respect to your tasks given, and what is the role that you need to play when you have ownership of something. How do you execute that in an organizational effort? And also, how do you ensure that things are in your control when you're executing? We will look at them slowly. So predominantly, we will have the outline as follows. First thing is we will see what is ownership, what constitutes it. Then we will see how to make it work. Once you understand that, we will deep dive into three important topics. One is what is accountability, what is building a culture, what is connecting trust. And I use the word connecting in a perspective. Then we will look at something called picture of success. Finally, we'll open up for Q&A, and we will open up for discussions. I will keep a significant amount of time for discussion so that we can interact. Now, what do you see in the next few slides? We will work it out. So what does it mean to take ownership at work? Ownership at work has a few fundamental things. First thing, you take responsibility for the work that you want to deliver. Second, you are a leader. So you need leadership when you take up a task. And then build trust among your teammates that you will deliver. No excuses taken, nothing given. So this is what it means to take ownership. I have a short graphic. I'll show you what it means. Ownership is always, remember, is outcome based, right? You need to deliver what is the outcome. So there is a deliverable attached to it. And you will need commitment to that delivery. You could also say it, you own it. So what is the best way of illustrating this? I'll show it this way. When you're just a performer, when you're performing it, you see, I am responsible for this work. From being responsible, I say I own it. Once you own it, you become accountable for it. What is accountable? You need not do the work on your own. You can delegate it to somebody, but ensure that it works completed. So on the left-hand side, you are the person executing it. On the right-hand side, you are the person managing it. So when you are a task doer, you are responsible for the task. But when you're a task manager, you are accountable for it. And in between comes the ownership. So these are the different ways of performing. Now, here again, there are minute differences when we speak about taking ownership and being accountable. What are those subtle differences? Ownership means you will see the initiation happening. It is an initiative from your side. But when you are accountable, you are performing all the follow-ups. You are performing whether it is done effectively, done correctly, all the things that are needed to be there are present or not. All that is something that you will take care. Right? So this is what you will try and do. But when you are not able to do it, this is an important part of ownership. When you are not able to do it, you have to forward the work to somebody or communicate very early. Right? So this is what you can do. Very important is communicate. You are a stakeholder in this work. You have to communicate to all the stakeholders in the communication thread or the hierarchy and inform if you're able to do it on time or not. Very important thing in communication is trying to be proactive and being honest. Your customer or the person that you are delivering the work to will be angry that you're not doing it, but they will respect you for being upfront. This will allow you to gain their trust. It will allow you to gain your trust to them. You will build your trust in that. So that is the difference between taking ownership and being accountable. Ownership also is in the positive and in the negatives also. So you have to be sensitized about it. The most important thing is integrity. This is important as you grow. This is important as you execute more stuff, because you will be getting more stressful and more influential jobs or tasks. And when these influential tasks are coming, you have to have your own integrity. So integrity governs your ownership and being accountable. Integrity mostly comes when you're being accountable, because you have to do a lot of follow-ups. Bias should not come into the system. So that is where you will see this coming into the picture. How do you build this integrity in your system? It is by building a culture. If you have a culture of communicating early, if you have a culture of respecting people, if you have a culture of doing things on time and delivering on time, it is all a behavioral model. And how do you build those things fundamentally? First thing is, you need to define what are your core values. Understand what are your core values, define them. Integrity is a core value. Punctuality is a core value. Sincerity is a core value. So define what are the core values you're looking at. All the others come in the next run where they are very important. Next is, how do you embed these values and in your behaviors? What are the activities that you can do to embed them? Once you start embedding them, you start rolling out the values and check what are the behaviors coming out. And after that, you tell what are the associated behaviors that will come up. Again, define the core values, embed then the core values in your behavior, then start rolling out those values, and finally add any associated values that you need to add or outline them perfectly. But where you might ask, where does the culture begin? Culture always starts from the top. Always from the top. So the leadership sets the culture. So if the leadership in your team, if you are part of the leadership, what you execute, what you give as an example, others follow you. So if you need to, when you expect something from your team, first thing is you need to follow it. You need to implement it. It should become your second nature. Because as it comes as a default to you, you will actually see it embedding into your behavior. Now, what does this do? It adds positivity in your system. With positivity, you say you care for those people, right? People start caring for you. It is a two-way journey. With care comes empathy, right? Empathy comes at all levels. It is more proactive. You understand and you empathize. But you also need a certain amount of sympathy. But sympathy is reactive. Sympathy happens after an event has happened, not while it is in progress or before it is happening. So you need to understand that empathy is of higher value than sympathy. You understand? Along with that, what you see is you have to acknowledge discomfort in people, because empathy will provide you that. If it is discomfort, if there is difficulty, you will understand that there is a difficulty, and this helps you building a culture. So this is how you build a culture. But when you build a culture, the culture develops with building, right? So trust also gets built up. When you are ownership and when you are accountable, that is when you build trust. You build trust in the people. You always say trust is not given, trust is built. So trust comes from self. You need to develop trust towards your manager, towards your peers, towards your subordinates. And when everybody starts caring for you, the trust gets built. But in that also there are two portions. Accountability is what a manager does, and by giving encouragement, you are trusting a person, right? You encourage that person to do, you trust them a little more. But what is ownership? When you are ownership, you reinforce the trust in them. You reinforce whatever trust you have in that team member, you reinforce it by giving them ownership of an activity. Telling them, you are now responsible for delivering this work. Find out ways and doing it. So this is why trust is always built and not given. So this is how you have to connect trust between the hierarchy, across your verticals, across your horizontals. That is how you do. Build trust. So that is how you connect trust among people. But after doing all of this, you understand what is, how do you deliver? What do you have to do? The easiest way of doing this is you paint a picture of success. What is painting picture of success? If you know what is the end goal, create a picture such that it is clear. There is clarity in the work, and you define what are the outcomes, you define the boundaries, you define the culture, you define the vibrancy in the picture. What do you do? Clearly define the end goal and ensure that there is a sense of achievement after completing the delivery. For example, celebrate each deliverable because your team member acknowledges that as a micro milestone, that yes, it is an achievement that you have done and it is a finite recognizable quantity. Team achievement and team celebration is important. What is the best way of defining it? Best way of defining it is in your timeline. Define a timeline. Define what is the entry point of your timeline. After defining the entry point, define an exit point. It should not be a never-ending point, whether it is a 2-month process, 2-year process, or a 2-decade process. Have an exit point where you have, but you also have various milestones in which you can check each of these. So that defines what is the success rate, your entry in the success, your exit point in the success. And at the exit point, you tell them what is the beauty of the success. Show them what is the beauty of that, or you can deliver that. What are your benefits of having the exit successfully? Create a sense of excitement in it, because only when people are excited, they would be eager to have a good delivery. Again, what do you do with that? You, for having a clear delivery, for the beauty to understand, you need to have a clear vision. Second, you need to be able to make them understand, and they should be able to understand what you are trying to show. So you need to align yourself to the goals. Go hand in hand together, right? So this is why this understanding is a very important part of design thinking. Design thinking means you focus on the end goal and the end user, right? You answer on the why. Why am I doing it? For whom am I doing it? That clarity, if you get the beauty of the exit point clearly defined. So that's why you need to have a sense of design thinking principles in you. First rule of design thinking is empathize. You need to empathize with people, and only then you will get. Why do you empathize? You need to empathize who's your end user. It could be a customer in one case for your project, but for the process, it is your team member who is part of the end goal, right? So each step, you understand what is the requirement and then take it forward. So next, what we do is to understand what we do with your team members, you need to do one main thing. A lot of people are not comfortable handing over responsibility. They're not comfortable giving ownership. Some people are very comfortable giving ownership so that you give some responsibility to them and then. So these two form the two ends of a spectrum. The two extremities of a spectrum is ownership on the one side, micromanaging on the other side. Right? Now, how do you do it? So as a team member or a team manager or a person who is teaching the art of ownership to somebody, you should acknowledge that everybody is different. Just like your hand, each finger is different. Each role is different. Each functionality is different. Everybody in the team is different. So at times, you should teach them. You should not micromanage. Yes, you might be micromanaging initially, but slowly you have to move to the left side. Give them ownership. Teach them. What do you have to teach? Teach them comprehension. How do you understand what the project looks like? How do you look at this project? Then you understand, you take what are the response levels? How well do they respond? Do they respond without prompt, or they always need a prompt followed by a reminder, followed by a second reminder? What do you use there? Next, identify what is the skill set that is missing from which allows you to take them from micromanaging to ownership. What is the skill set that you can train them, ask them to develop, and tell them at one point of time, I will have to manage you because you are new to the system. Then after some time, you said, hey, you have been in the system for quite some time and you have gathered the skill set. I'm giving you ownership. I'm giving you deliverable rights. You deliver it. But very important in leadership and art of owning is you need to embrace failure. Not everyone will win every time. Not everyone will be successful. There are times which you will see failure. There are times you will have difficulty. There are times you will feel down. But this is not a failure. You have to embrace that, yes, sometimes things don't go according to your planned activity. Have a mitigation plan. If you are well planned enough in your project management, you do it. If not, embrace it. Yes, it is an opportunity to learn. It is an opportunity to understand. It is an opportunity to develop new things. It is opportunity to accept that, yes, it is okay to ask for help. Understand, it is a mental thing. It is part of the behavioral of people that sometimes they feel that if I ask for help, it shows a sign of failure. No, asking help does not mean it's a sign of failure. Asking help means you have acknowledged that there are something that you lack and you are willing to learn. And it is a process of asking somebody that you have started to learn. Think, I do not know this. I want to learn from a person who is better off at it. Please teach me. Please help me. After that, you will learn. You can learn a second time also. So this is where you move from micromanaging to ownership. So this is what you have to understand, that you are okay. It is okay to fail, but it is also okay to embrace failure. Now, when you have failure, or when you need some help, or when somebody is looking for help, or when you're moving from micromanaging to ownership, you need to have a skill of listening, not hearing. There is a difference between the two. Hearing is to react. You really want to hear, you just want to grab the information given to you and immediately respond to them. It is hear, or not paying sufficient attention to them. Listening is an activity where there is comprehension, understanding, empathizing, acknowledging them. Okay. Now, in simpler terms, for example, an employee has an idea, right? An employee wants to share ideas with you. You hear those ideas and take no action, right? It is not a positive feedback. When you hear, you do not take action sometimes. But As an employer, when an employee gives you an idea, or as a team member, a teammate gives you an idea, a peer gives you an idea, when you listen, it is an action, it is an activity. And then if you take action and if you take no action, you have to give a reason for why you're not taking an action. That means the thought process has gone behind, right? So that is a positive feedback. Your team member will acknowledge that, yes, they have heard me and they have given me a reason for not taking a certain action, or they have given me a reason for taking action. So main important thing about listening is you have to give a logical closure to them. The easiest way of giving logical closure is document your thought process, right? You document it. When you document the thought process and hand over the documentation to the person who have given an idea, ask them to work on it. See, is it where? Now, another thing is, it is the situation demands. When you're listening, you have to also tell them in your logical closure what is the situation in which the design is. But you are not discrediting the idea now. You will say that in current situation, we are not able to process. In the future, if the situation changes, might be this is more apt answer. So that is why you should listen. You should not hear. And listening is a skill that we can develop over a period of time. And it is important that we listen. Now, if somebody asks, right, how do I differentiate or how do I identify if I am taking ownership or not taking ownership, or being accountable or not being accountable? The question is, see if these points are being put across as your response. If you're given an activity and if this are your response, then you will have to check. For example, it is not my fault. I sent him or her an email last week, but he didn't reply. Right? This is like you're not being accountable. Reason is, you were given a task, you sent a said, I did a task, I sent him an email. There ends my responsibility of ownership of the task. But you are not being accountable. You can be accountable by doing a follow. So taking ownership of a task is one, being accountable for the task is one. So this is one example. Second, it is not in my job description. Why was it given to me? This is not even taking ownership. He says, I don't want it. Why did you give it to me? I didn't ask for it. It is not even my job description. It's like a tech person doing a sales job. Very important thing is, it is an opportunity for you to learn. Sales tells you what is important for the market, what is being asked for, what are you seeing. This will be there. And sometimes a team member is given an additional task to see if they are capable of doing something new. Can you widen your horizon of work? Can you add a new feather in your cap? So you are trying to see, they are trying to check if you can pass at their test, so they can give you a new task. This is one thing. Another thing is simply saying, it's not fair that I got blamed for this project failing. One thing is here, yes, project failed, but you should not say that it is a blame. Sometimes you say it is a blame, but it is a collective effort from everybody. So it's a collective activity. But when you are a leader of a project, you have to take the responsibility of the outcome. Good also you will get, bad also you will get. So you have to sometimes feel that I am accountable for this work. Yes, I did not deliver it as expected this time. That doesn't mean it's a failure. I will deliver it better. Give me a second opportunity, or give me some more time. I will refine it and get back to you. So this is how you can identify people and then deliver. Now, last two slides before I open up for Q&A. To find out what kind of a person you are, right? These are the 8 questions I would offer for you to look at it. First thing is, do I spend more time working or complaining? Do I often push forward or procrastinate? Procrastinate is finding a time saying, I will do it later. Okay, I have another 1 week to go. Let me push it next week and I'll get it done. Procrastinate is delaying in time for the same activity. Third is something very common where people are coming. They say, am I envious of others' achievements or I am keen to learn from them? It is not easy. It doesn't come by default, but you have to learn this. This is another kind of people that you will find. Am I envious or I'm willing to learn? Third. Fourth, do I believe I deserve success or am I excited to earn my own way? Sometimes you have to earn your success. Situation might not be comfortable to you, but you do work, deliver and earn the success, earn the respect, earn the monetary compensation. Sometimes they will give it to you if you do work, but sometimes you have to earn it. Powerfully do it and then say, I executed it, I deserve it, this is mine, give it to me. Not easy, and it is not easier said than done, but possible. If you are a tough person, you do it, you will get it. Fifth is something very, very close to me. Do I tend to point fingers or problem solve? It's like this. I have some work to be done in office. Okay, I have a task done, but there is a tool which is failing or stopping my work. That is not working. So would you complain to your team, hey, tool is not working, I am not doing it? Or would you tell your team, the tool is not working, let me talk to some of the tool owners who are building it, let me get it fixed. Or if you know who the tool owner is and you have seen a common problem, are you willing to share that solution with me? Are you a problem solver or are you just point fingers and draw the line and say, once you fix it, I'll only do that? First one is ownership, second one is accountability. Problem solvers are accountable people. They take account of it, solve it, and then say, hey, it's done. Third, sixth one. Let us not try to be this, which is when things don't go my way, do I play a victim or do I play a victor? Is it a victim card I'm playing or do? Lastly, important thing is what matters most? Others' opinion of me or my opinion of myself? Am I looking for validation from others or I am doing validation myself? There are 2 stages. There is a first stage where you are looking for validation because you are not very comfortable or you are not very strong enough to control the outcome. You tell, yes, I need somebody to tell me I'm going in the right direction. Technically, sometimes in my work, I'm asking for it. For example, but when I'm doing some management related work, there are many big managers ahead of me. So I will ask them, am I doing it right? Does it make sense to you that I'm doing this way? But once I am strong in what I believe, I should be very clear that this is the opinion about myself. I know I'm doing it right. The environment around me may not be right, but still I'm doing it right and delivering. And this sometimes matters because the team management is testing you sometimes and putting you in a tough environment. By coming out successfully, you are passing their test. So now they know, yes, I do not need to monitor this team member's activity. They are confident enough to deliver it to my or the management's expectation. We will do it. And last point, do I ever offer constructive ideas? This is very important when we do in a teamwork, especially with ownership or with accountability is when there is a problem coming forward, are you even delivering a solution or by offering a solution for that problem? This shows that yes, you have identified a problem, but you have also worked on getting a solution and providing a solution. You need not solve it. Somebody else would solve it, but you are preparing yourself to put in somebody else's shoe saying, I have thought about it. This is constructive activity. I am willing to discuss with you what has happened. So these are the 8 points which help you check where in the scale are you a micromanager, or you are responsible, or giving your ability to give responsibility or give ownership. Are you what do you say, owner of a task, or are you accountable? So these 8 questions will help you align your functional north to say which direction you're there and start aligning you. Right? And with that, I would like to conclude my talk here and open up for questions, saying ownership starts with leaders, because only they who are accountable can give ownership to others. So if you are part of the leadership, please start having ownership and please start delivering or giving somebody in your team who are willing to own activities and grow. And with that, I would like to thank you and open up for questions. So any questions?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Jazakallah
assalam.
khair. Yeah, thank you for your wonderful session. I would like to ask you, how do we deal with employees who deliberately don't do their work on time, like they don't submit it on time and they are way past their deadline? So how do we confront them, or how do we deal with this situation?
Okay. The first perspective is, can you find out why they are consistently doing that? Is there a reason for that? Generally, whether there are 2 things there. One, they have not been given ownership is one of the main reasons why they delay. Second, they are discontent somewhere. Find out why they are discontent for it, why they are unhappy there. After finding out why they are unhappy, try and solve that problem. Once you try and solve that problem, you will be able to know, get the answer, and from then on, they will start delivering on time. This is something which I have practiced and I have seen happening. See, in sometimes, I'll give you one of the most common examples is they have done a lot of activity on time, but they have never been given credit for it. Or somebody else was given credit for the work that they have done. This is generally one of the top reasons why people don't deliver on time, or they feel, what is the need to deliver on time? So please ask. And once you feel that is addressed, I think these people generally turn around and deliver on time. They will be changed personalities once this is taken care of. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's a wonderful answer, and I totally agree with that. But the thing is, they choose to not to deliver on time so that they won't be overburdened, like they won't get more work. So they are delaying their first task so that they won't get another task. So what do we do?
So what typically this happens is when they are exiting again. That means there is a discontentment somewhere that I am getting all the work, but there are other people in the team who are not doing it enough. Is there a bias? Are they giving me work just because I am doing all work? Am I good? Am I being punished for being good and efficient? That role is coming to me. So yes, I have seen that. There used to be a time when I used to do 1 week's work in 3 days and then say I've done. And they said, oh, this guy is fast. Let's give a second work. I used to burn the midnight oil for others' works. I was to be given a lot more ownership. But see, that times I said, okay, I am going to be accountable. I will do it. And this has a flip side. The advantage of doing this one was the management identified that this person works in stress, can execute fast, and is efficient. So I got moved to something called the A team. That other people used to do the work. And when they couldn't do it fast enough, The A team was pushed in saying, hey, you are the guys who can fix it fastest. Please fix so that we can deliver on time. So you get recognized also. So this is something that you should see. And no, there are two things happen. Consistently discrediting a team person is one of the main reasons they go in this direction. Somebody does the work, but their credit is not given. That is primarily the work why there is discredit. People don't want to do it on time. They'll say, deadline is today. I will positively give today evening or tomorrow morning. I will not give before, even if I have done it before. Why? So can you please look at that direction and see if the people that you work with or have that consistent discredit being given to them? Identify that there must be a reason. Nobody does it without any reason, right? So if you find a consistent reason, address that. It should resolve it faster.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. That's very helpful.
Most helpful. I have a question from Nazim. Could you please go ahead and ask? I saw your hand go up.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Brother, I have a question. Very often I come across ego clashes between the workers. You know, it will be very, very difficult to handle that situation. But is there any tip or some advice like how to manage the ego clashes among the workers?
Okay. There are, I'm not very well experienced on that, but from what I say is, again, I'm a design thinker, so I try and implement it that way. I see is, what is the root cause of this ego? Work, dominance, or they feel that, who are you to tell that to me? Why is this ego coming in between? See, what is the root cause? If you can identify the root cause of these egos, you can somehow try and resolve it. It's like once you have identified a problem and you acknowledge that there is a problem, only then you can solve it. Now, you acknowledge that there is an ego clash, but if you try and spend some effort on why there is ego clash, you can try to solve it. One thing what I try to do is for that particular task that is being done, is that ego clash a behavior or that ego clash is coming during execution? I focus on the execution portion because behavior I cannot change. I can only influence. I can only ask, but I cannot change their behavior straight away. I can say this is my activity. If I have the authority or the ownership or the accountability in this project and they have the ownership, I can say, I can follow up with them. Why are you not doing this process? Please complete it. We have a certain deadline to achieve. Task is given to you, complete your task. Your egos are later. Now the point comes is, if the ego clash with you and your subordinate or your peer or your teammate, this suggestion can be done. But if this ego clash comes between team members who are either reporting to you, then it is easy. You can say, you can sit them down, have a conversation with them together and sometimes alone to see why, again, there is a discontent. Why the ego clash? Ego clash would have come again for some discontent somewhere. I constantly use this word discontent because only when they are discontent, they will come. Or in their opinion, they feel that somebody is having a bias. Try and find out if you can eliminate one of these two or both of them, then you will be in a better hand to identify what could be the problem and solve it. It is not easy, but this at least ensures that the project that you're doing or the work that is being done doesn't get affected. You solve it in parts. First, with the regular execution. Second, with their behavior with each other or with you. Is how you will look at it.
Thank you, brother.
Hope that helps.
Yes, Alhamdulillah.
Okay, I have another question from Janab Asad Merchant, who says, how to enter into cyber security? The answer is very simple, brother. The cyber security is a domain and not a stream. So in cyber security, find out where you want to be. You want to be in the software, you want to be the hardware, you want to be in the infrastructure development, you want to be in the security development, networking aspect, multiple things. Once you identify, find what skill set you are good at, right? Learn yourself, upskill yourself in cybersecurity, right? And upskill yourself fundamentally in understanding that there is hardware security, software security, firmware security, network security. All of these put together forms your cyber security. Okay. And identify that there is a physical domain and the cyber domain. So when you are accessing anything from the physical to the cyber domain, you have particular gateways, you have vertical switches that you need to check for, and their respective controls. Get the ability to get the skill for it, to understand how it works, and then you will be able to enter. How do you enter? You have to reach out to people, network, understand how they do, and learn. And then it will be able to, you will be able to take things forward. Hope that answers your question. I saw one more hand going up. Can you please raise your, unmute yourself and ask the question? I see Sipgat ask a question. Can you please unmute and go ahead? Preferably you can come, if you show your face, it will be good. It will be as if I'm speaking to a person rather than to a monitor or a camera. So
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Salam. Yes, I can hear you. It would be nice if you could see you too.
Anyways, let me pose my question.
Okay.
What is that one most important thing that you think should a manager always keep in mind with respect to his team, or leading a project or leading a team?
Most important thing. Interesting question. I do not have a good answer. I will give you an okay answer. The answer is the team is kept. What is the reason for having the team there? That should be a primary goal. Project is not the only thing. You have to also see what is the outcome of the project, what is the learning in the project, or how is the team going to benefit with the project. Only then you have to see. So that is something that should be overcome. Every aspiration of the team member should be addressed while you are executing a team or executing a project. So that is something that if you keep in mind, you are taking care of the team that is going to work for you, and you're also going to understand the project deliverable and the team that you respond back to. So this is something that I feel that there has to be a common thread which is binding everybody and not just this one. So inshallah, that would be the right direction that you have to keep in your team. Again, I said this is an okay answer, may not be a good answer, because there are too many perspectives to look at.
Yeah. Well, just to add on it,
Hmm.
How to differentiate a micromanager who puts his hand in everything and a manager with a golden heart, that who is there to help his team members always, because it's always taken wrongly in some sense, and you understand, right?
See, there are multiple ways of handling this. The first thing you have to do is acknowledge where the problem is. And one more thing which lacks in most places is open bridge of communication. Even if it is tough, you need to sometimes catch hold of your manager, your team, sit them down and have a conversation. What is stopping you? What is troubling you? Please tell me. Let us
Yeah,
communicate. let us communicate. That would be
जीव चूतों के अलमारी साफ करो ना, कितना बुरा हाल है, कचरे की कुंडी बनी हुई है,
Can someone
माँ
please
बाप
mute
काले हैं।
yourself?
can you please mute yourself.
ये बेकार जूते तो फेंको, कचरा बनाओ।
Okay. Sometimes you have to call out people. Mr. Jamil, are you hearing me? Can you please mute yourself? Mr. Jamil, can you please mute yourself? Sometimes calling out helps. People don't listen at the first time. Mr. Imtiaz Khan. Thank you. Yes, see, it helps. Sometimes communication helps. Yes, so this is something that you can try for. Hope I answered your question.
No, Javed bhai, my question is a bit different. Let's say I'm managing a team, okay, and I am a person who is personally going to each team member and asking him every day or maybe twice a day, like what you are doing, what's happening, and all. Okay, that's one thing. That means I'm actually poking my nose in every activity that happens in the team. Okay.
Okay.
The other way is I make a small pockets like a 2-3 member group, and I give responsibility to these groups. Let's say I make some 6 groups like that. Okay, I have 20-member team. I made 6 groups, and I am talking only to a group leader there.
Okay.
That's one way. Other way is I'm going to each each of the 20 people and asking them what they are doing and what sort of things are happening. As a as a manager, I have all the right to do that. Okay, and also I have all the right to do the second way. Okay.
Right.
So, which is the better method? And what are the consequences of each of these methods?
That is a nice question. So that depends upon what is the constituent of your team. Generally, in a team, you will not have all experienced people, or you will not have all inexperienced people in that technology. There will be somebody who is fresh entrant in the team. There will be somebody who will have a little experience of working. You will have somebody with a senior person who has got a little more experience than other people. So what we feel is, now here's a difference. You give somebody accountability and you give somebody ownership. You give accountability is when you have somebody senior in your team whom you can say, I will give you, out of the 20 people, I'll give you 8 people. Can you take responsibility for all the tasks given and report back to me? I will make you accountable for this team. Now, what are the benefits of these? First one, you are not micromanaging 8 people. You are only asking feedback from one person. Second, you are giving an opportunity for one person to grow by finding out, giving them responsibility and making them accountable, making them understand that yes, they need to find a way to get work done and report back to you. Third, it is a situation of growth for everybody, because now the youngest member in the team, not by age, by experience, sees that there is a senior project manager who takes the chance or takes the risk of delegating or subdelegating a small work to a group member, and that gives them the idea, yes, if I am good enough, I can gain the respect and the responsibility from my management to lead in some time in the future. So this helps in grooming people, and this also helps in building confidence in the team. Likewise, there will be another set of people who may not like to be accountable, but they are very good in their task. There you have to micromanage. Say, can you give me, rather than a weekly update, can you give me a daily update or once in 2 days update? Next, there might be a person who may not be good to handle 8 people because their skill set is not up. They are in the direction of getting 8 people. So you say, instead of doing 8, you can say, I'll give you 4. I'll give you 5. Can you do with a smaller team? Instead of having 5 tasks, can you do 3 tasks? So this also builds in the rest of the team that there is scope for us to grow technically and in managerial roles. And my manager also trusts me to give me accountability for 4 people. So skill set development, growth, trust, all of these comes in. Now, the style of work is yours. I cannot control that. But the suggestions that we give is how can you do it? You can be all of them. For the 8-member team, you can be a person who is just giving ownership and saying you execute it and come back and tell me. Okay, I will only take a weekly update from you. Other side, in the rest of the team members, you say I will have to micromanage you because you need micromanagement because you're good in task execution but not in planning and management. So I will have to do your planning, I will have to do your task allocation, I will have to do your micromanaging. You do only task execution. So it is left to you how you deal with both and take it forward. But there's one thing what I found was a team manager can never be just one. You will have to do all of them for some people and none of it in some people. When you have to do none of it, I think they are a very lucky manager because they have got a well-trained or they have groomed their team well enough. It's a long answer, but hope this helps.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. If other team members have more questions, then I have a couple of more to ask.
Let us give some chance to other people.
Yeah,
I will
sure,
come back to you.
Sure.
There is a question from Mohammad Sagar. Why don't you unmute and ask that question yourself?
Yeah, so the question is about the key subtle difference between the responsibility and accountability.
Okay.
In the context of the way we create RASI metrics, right? When you work across cross-functional team, what is the key difference between you say you're accountable versus responsible?
Like I said, right? The key difference is you are responsible for a task, but accountable means along with the task, you're gathered about delivering the whole thing, whole activity to your higher up or your next team, passing on the work. In simplistic terms, you can see RASI matrix has got other things. For example, you need to understand the I. Can you tell me what the I stands for in RASI matrix? I and C.
C stands for consulting, I stands for informing. So I mean,
Yeah.
So
in that
whole
thing is everybody wants to be responsible and accountable only, but nobody wants to do the consulted task and informed task also, right? Manager sometimes has to do consulting job also. You just only say, okay, you have a problem, but I know the person who has a solution. I will redirect you there, you figure out. That is consulting job. Information job also you have to do is, okay, I have information, I will gather information and give it to you. That is only information job. But being accountable means you know that there is a problem, you know who can do the solution, you get the work done is accountability. Seeing the difference?
Yeah,
Getting
so
the
I
work
think-
done is important.
So typically, I think you will hold, it's one person who is accountable and you can have multiple responsible, right? Not the other way.
Not the other way. You can never have multiple accountable people and one responsible people. If you have multiple accountable people, that's a dream team. Because you can divide the accountability and say, okay, you guys are accountable for one portions of it. Now find out people who are responsible enough to do it and then come and let me know. That is a dream team. Having more than one accountable person in your team. But you have to ensure that among these accountable people, you be fair with them. You at least do clear partition of task and ensure that you give due credit. Then the accountable people will work efficiently. Giving credit is extremely important for accountable people. Being fair is extremely important for being responsible people. If you don't credit the people at the right time, you're not doing justice. So RASI matrix is there. So that is the difference. See, everything is not task-based. It is more behavior-based. You need to adapt. As a manager, you need to adapt your behavior to other people. Likewise, if you are a person of accountability, you need to adapt yourself. you will play a role in each part of RASI matrix in different stages of your career. But you're only going to move from one after the other as you grow up in their respective ladders. So the day you start acknowledging that, you will know that in one of the places you're only getting informed. You're not getting any task. In one place, you are going to get consultant. When you reach a consultant state, when you're a little, show expertise. When you show expertise, you become a consultant. They will help you, come to you for short duration, gain information, and then go back. So consultant is great for technical side. Accountability and responsibility is great for management side. So each of these are present. Hope that answers your question, Mr. Mohammed Sagar.
Yeah.
Sure. Any other questions before I go to Subgat Sab? I'm sorry, that is how I have to identify you. I don't know your name, sir. Kindly excuse me. Okay, I'll go back to you, but this time I want you also on video. So please come out in video.
There's some issue with my. Sorry, there's some issue with this my cam.
Okay, sure.
I mean, yeah, I think it's apart from the topic that we discussed just now.
Okay.
How are you managing your since you came from academic background, you did PhD and MS? How are you managing or how could you able to switch your gear from pure research background to the project deliverables? At least for me, it is becoming. I also did my PhD.
Okay.
For me, it's become quite difficult to contribute in the research and exploring the new topics. At the same time, delivering the project deliverables. How could you be able to manage this?
Okay. For this, I will give due credit to my PhD advisor. Okay. He created a culture in the lab in such a way that while you're doing your research, you're still doing a project. For example, I come from a background where we have to do chip tape out. It's we have to send our design for fabrication. So that is treated as a project. So we have a tape in deadline, say 3 quarters from now. So he would say, how the 3 quarters, you please plan what are the deliverables of each project so that I can take a call when we can submit the design as a faculty. So he ingrained in us right in the beginning that everything you do is project driven because you have a chip. The chip has a finite content. For example, let me give you my own example. My first chip that I designed was a capacitive sensor. Okay. So I had to do the fundamental unit of it as part of the design. I had to do another fundamental unit to ability to test that design. Third portion was the ability to integrate smaller blocks. So I had to do all the smaller blocks in one. So that was the first project. Second project was, or second chip tape out, which came after some about 2 years time or 1.5 years time, was integrating all of that and making a single unit. It was a subsystem or a system in itself. It was actually a system on chip or a lab on chip environment where I had a semiconductor setup where I have to do an ADC. I had the signal conditioning circuit. Then I had a sensor, passive sensor made on top of it. Then on top of it, you package. So after the package comes back, I had to do microfluidics on top of it. So I had different stages I had to do. So manager, our faculty advisor always taught us that way. And one more reason why he taught us that way was he was also taught that way while he was doing his PhD or after his PhD while he was working in the industry. So he said, he brought in that culture or that thought process that doing research is fine, but you also have a deliverable, right? So the way you work while we were working in a project was, we have a project, we have a timeline, we have deadlines that we have to achieve. We have a hard deadline and a soft deadline. We have multiple reviews in the process. So the entire project management flow happened in the execution. On the side, we had research work to do where we had to target newer areas, new methods, new methodologies, and if we can incorporate that into our main project management. So we had to do Gantt charts, we had to do product understanding, we had to do what do you say, fishbone diagrams, where we deviate, what we bring in. We had to do mitigation plans, what we do. So it was part of our training. So project management came as very simple to us because we were trained while doing our PhD. And that is something that was there. And due credit to our faculty member or my advisor, PhD advisor at IISc, for giving us that direction and also giving us the opportunity. Like at one point of time, he says, you have to teach me or be more learned than me in one particular area, especially the area of you do your PhD. So at that point of time, you are much more knowledgeable than me there. So at that point of time, you are accountable. You have to be accountable, own whatever you have there. Only then you can do. And that is the second training, that if we have to start our research group later, you will also see when you start a research group later or work in a group, you will also be responsible. You will also be given task. You will also have projects. You will have to write project proposals and grants with the government, with the industry. They will have time-bound spaces. So all of these comes as a package. So PhD is a training platform for us. It is not a research platform for us at IISc, or at least that is what our advisor taught us, that you have to learn everything. Just research and doing papers is not the expectation. Wholesome development is the expectation.
Okay. And you still continue that legacy?
I am right now in the industry and I am continuing that legacy because it is now second skin to me. It is so, we have been doing it for a decade and a half now, that it comes by nature, and it is easier this way because I know where I cannot do some stuff, I take help or I hand it over to somebody who's accountable. And when I know I can take full ownership and deliver, I just take full ownership and deliver.
Okay. Generally, don't you think it can become difficult, at least in my telecom sector, the research is going in some direction and our deliverables are in some direction. Don't you think it become a bit difficult to map them both?
See, there are two things. One, the industry is governed by market factors. So you have to make money by selling a product for current requirement. Revenue is important in industry. Research is done such that future requirement of the industry or future requirement of the market is what you will have to prepare for.
Right.
If you are fortunate enough, both will be aligned in the same direction, only that one is a few years ahead of the other. Sometimes you will be on opposite directions or deviated from a different topic. So this way, what will happen is the research in you should be looking one thought or one eye should always be on that, saying where is that direction heading? And the day I jump from execution to that research, how quickly can I shift? That should always be back of your mind. And you should keep aligning yourself to achieve that. Yes, it is a time constraint, but again, it is a time management. How much time you allocate to it, fine. You have to find some dedicated time per week or a per month basis to align yourself so that when a new area comes, you can switch to it, you can upskill to it, you can learn from it. Now, for example, this language processing, right, is coming up. You got a lot of chat GPT playing a role. It is a new. There are two ways of looking at it. One, you can treat chat GPT as your potential job replacement. Or you can use chat GPT as a tool to do all the mundane work that you would, and you focus on the innovative and intellectual stuff and allow the machine to do the mundane work or the documentation work or something. So it's left to you. That's your perspective. I prefer ChatGPT as a tool because, hey, ChatGPT is a machine. Unless it allows new thought processes and new inputs, it cannot do anything. Whereas human being is capable of doing differently. So always try to have an edge over the tool that you use.
Right.
The moment you use it as a tool, you become comfortable with it and you become aligned with it.
One last question, very personal question.
Okay.
Did it ever happen to you, like you went for a chip tape out, when the chip was ready, and then it happened that you missed some important feature in it, or there was a potential bug in it, and the chip is the chip is as if like a not ready for use. Did it ever happen? If it has happened, then how did you absorb that?
In our industry, it commonly happens.
Okay.
You will never get first time 100% right.
Okay.
Okay. So that is called a test chip.
My question is not that. I think,
I'll tell you. I'll
yeah.
tell you. This role of this test chip is find out what are the bugs in your design such that you can correct it in your next version.
Okay.
There is never a chip where we get first time right. Some error will happen by somebody in the team. It is bound to happen. Now, the point that we try to do is spend as much time as possible before we send the chip for fabrication. But after the chips come back from application, first thing is acknowledge that there is an error. Then root cause why that error came. In the next version, ensure that that error doesn't come. That's all.
Let me put more perspective. Sorry, I think I'm eating more of your time. Just one question. See, let's say we have architect some model, for some design, and you started working on it. Down the line, after 3-4 months or maybe 6 months, you realize that this is not going to work. Okay. It could have happened to you in previously, and it recently happened to us, and it came a big shocker for us. When we did all the architecture and everything, much of the brainstorming, and we architect everything, and we allotted the resources, and they worked for 6 months. Suddenly, it came out that it is not going to work. It will not work. Then, in such case, how do you absorb that, and what could be our way forward?
Okay. I'll tell you this simple anecdote. In the current VLSI industry, what we have observed generally is there are designers, there is a validation team, and there's a testing team. And you look at bulk of the investment goes for validating and testing the idea. Designers are small, but verification and testing team is a vast team. So you have to invest more in validating and testing that idea before you finally put it into a product. So yes, you are an architect, fine. A lot of brainstorming was done, fine. Implementation was done, fine. Okay. Now what is next? Let me see. I think let me find an easier way to explain this. Let me share my screen just to show the right way that we would do that.
Great.
Okay. So you're able to see the screen?
Yeah, I can see that.
You can see my presentation, right?
Right, I can see.
Yeah. So I will show you what is a nice way of doing it. And it is a very old methodology that we follow. Very, very old methodology. Let me move this screen elsewhere. So what you do right now in your design is, this is your design and architecture space. What is happening? Okay, so let me do it. How many of you are familiar with Venn diagram? You're familiar with Venn diagrams, right?
Right.
So how do you use that? What does it represent? So in a Venn diagram, you have a total space which is big. So this is your total space of operation. What you do in your design, right? You are designing saying these are all my variable space. This is what I am doing it for. And you will test this much. But what you need to test is the blue area, the negative space, where all this can fail. Okay. First, that is what you do. You have to find out where all it can fail. And at that point of time, you will realize that your architecture is going to be something like this. The red portion is your actual functional area. Okay. And the area that doesn't work is the yellow space which you thought will work. Okay. But the entire test, negative test space is this blue space. So as you try increasing your feature by adding more area that you try to capture, as you try and increase this in your next feature or the next revision, what you will have to take up is this red area will also be different. It may not always be the same. You will have to scale it. But there are going to be spaces which you thought as an architect that would work, but they may not work. Now, when I say they may not work, it is not a technical aspect. It could be it requires much more investment from the management that required. So they will say, let us remove, that is not needed. Or when you do your compliance, when you're looking for a compliance of a particular standard, it is not meeting, or you'll have to, too much of a manual effort is needed. So they say, let us not add this feature. That decision will come in later on during your validation stage. So at that point of time, at the validation stage, it does not mean that you have missed something. It's just that you have confirmed that, yes, this feature may not work for us right now. Let us park it to a side and take other things forward. So as an architect, we should be having the ability that 2 or 3 quarters later, right? When we're doing a validation for the complete system, we find that some feature is not feasible. We should have data-driven analysis saying this should not work, this may not work. Let us not invest any more time on it because the ROI is very less. Drop that idea at that point of time and proceed further. Another thing is every feature will not give you benefit every time. That is sure. Something you have to have the heart to drop. Yes, it might be something that you have contributed to, but in the perspective of the bigger project, where you have a wholesome view, this might be a very small aspect. You should have the heart to drop it and move forward.
Right. And that's where that's the important thing.
Yes.
We should at least
Look at
acknowledge
the
it.
big, yeah. Look at the bigger picture. Is it there? Is it not there?
Normal.
Okay. I think your daughter is saying enough is enough. Huh?
Yeah. I had promised.
Jazakallah.
Jazakallah.
Jazakallah. If you remember, we met in one of MFI RD meetings.
Yes, I have.
Papa.
Assalamualaikum, bolo. So, if there is no other questions from the participants, I will take your leave. We can close the session for today. And hope it was an interesting session for all of you.
Yes, yes. Indeed.
So if there are any other questions, you can definitely reach out to me and we can take these questions offline too. Thank you. Thank you for being a nice audience and for the interactive session.
Jazakallah, Javed bhai.
Jazakallah.
It was so nice of you. to share all your knowledge and experiences with all of us.
Inshallah.
And
yeah.
I hope you'll all use this in our projects and daily lives, inshallah. So thanks a lot to you and all the audience. So with this, we close this session for today, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Thank you very much.